Hello.
Hey, I can't find my headset, so I'm just gonna mute.
When you said never mind, I thought you were saying you weren't going to make stand-up.
Oh, no. Never mind. I said, I'm just taking my car today. Thanks. Bye. And drove home.
Seems
Couldn't hear you.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah. I'm not going to stand there and be pressured into a $500 service that I think should be covered by my warranty. But George, you lowered your ears.
I did. I got all my hair chopped off in part because I was like, the fewer haircuts I get in Europe, the easier it'll be.
It's true.
It looks good.
Thank you.
Do they not know how to cut hair in Europe?
They do, but I mean, I won't have a car, so it's just everything's going to be just more inconvenient. Like, I don't know where I'm going to be when I need a haircut, so I'm going to have to accept getting it when I can. Like, there's no barber anywhere near the village that I'm going to be at for a month. So it's like, I'm just going to get long hair if I'm there.
All right, then. Who wants to go?
You do.
No, I don't.
I'll go. All right. So yesterday, went through and did a colorization pass on UI elements. Spent a little bit more time doing some alignment and layout. Still have a little bit of work to do there. We identified a couple other areas to try and make things a little more consistent. So I'll probably work on some of those today. I also then spent the afternoon doing new assets for social media accounts and spent some time working on the Discord server, getting permissions sort of synced up so that the Ghostly Bears inherit permissions correctly into the team rooms, and also trying to figure out what was going on with Dinobot, which is basically, Dinobot was down. So
Still down.
It's still down?
It's offline right now.
Yeah, I'll do some more research this morning. As of last night, it sounded like they were going to resolve it soon, but maybe not. Okay, so if people can sort of keep an eye out on the Discord server, if people are trying to select their way into groups, just give them the permission member and the permission of the group they're trying to get into if you have access. So it's kind of a bummer. So as soon as we start getting people in, something breaks, but it's what it is.
But at least it wasn't our thing that broke.
Yeah, that's true. It doesn't make me feel much better, but I guess there's a little solace there. Yeah, so that's me. Today, like I said, I've got some more. I'm going to dive in on a few more UI elements I talked about with George yesterday. I am looking through the stuff that Tyson did, and so I'd love to get some prioritization out of you, Carl, about how important it is you think taking the next steps on some of these new dialog box designs are, and then continuing down the path on more web stuff and more asset stuff. So I think it's production stuff most of the day, I think. That's me. I choose Ant.
I'm checking Dinobot Twitter right now. 5 hours ago, they're like, it's long downtime because a lightning storm hit the condensers and the ACs were shut off at their host in Washington, D.C.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and they're still apologizing for it, but it's out of their control, kind of, too.
Yeah.
We did have crazy storms here. It was pretty nice.
So, yeah. Oh, yeah, because you're up towards that. You're in Maryland, right now.
Yep, I'm about an hour from DC.
Yeah, so that's why our Dinobot's not working, is because of those storms.
Yep.
I seem to remember a fire at a
Fisher Plaza.
At Fisher Plaza that did something similar to PopCap once.
Yeah.
Well, there was the disgruntled employee. That was pretty awesome.
Oh, the EPO. Yeah,
The guy that just punched the button on his way out and was like, "Let's just kill the entire thing."
We had a couple EPO problems there, but the fire was the big one. That one that we were running off diesel for 60 days, I think, there. But luckily, we were able to fail over to our European data center. So,
so yesterday was all quest stuff all the time. It was a lot of getting the final pieces in before like hooks so that UI can hook up to it. So when quests respond and they fail or complete, like there's actual things that I can hook the UI into to show something. And you can't win a quest yet, but you can fail it. They do spawn, and you have X amount of time, and it's like, hey, if any of these conditions fail, you fail the quest. And so whenever your time counts down, which you can't see, so good luck. But it doesn't matter anyway because you can't actually do the success condition anyway right now. So
final implementation.
Exactly. No feedback, you just lose. Done. Best game ever. It's all about learning, right? I mean, you just have to go online, look at wikis, and it said like, hey, when you hit the play button, this is going to happen. Look for the blink in the right-hand corner. That's a signal that this is going. Today is actually getting the success condition in and then hooking up some very, very basic like UI piece saying that this exists and this is what you're trying to do. And it can go away. Like, I think that will be most of it. I am home again alone with my daughter, so disrupted a bit here and there. Like I probably won't be around for doing a big chunk of game time this afternoon. Couple hours of leaving her just to her own devices is probably not the correct choice. So that'll be my day. Will be the rest of that quest stuff. George.
Okay. So I finished all of the data stuff, the data generation for galaxies, systems, and celestial objects. And currently, when you generate a galaxy, it creates a single path line galaxy that has a number of jumps required equal to whatever's in the JSON. So the to-do list for that task remains to be sort them, or sorry, add the what do you call it? The linkage between them. So right now, each system doesn't know which system it jumps to. So I need to add those layers of linkage, and then I need to split the paths. So those two things need to be done. There are a couple bugs in the backlog that I was going to look at. One of them, I think we're actually just going to push, which is the actually both of them could be pushed just because they're relatively minor UI bugs. If we can get around to fixing them, fine. But I think it's actually better just to focus on the other stuff right now. They're inconveniences more than anything, and we just need the content and the functionality of these systems to be in place. With respect to my other cards, because I am going to be on a huge change starting next week, I don't know how that's going to affect the way that I work. Just to kind of give an update, that's the Galaxy stuff. The UI is mostly done. Hans already talked about the stuff that he's finishing up in there. Ships that don't do anything is pretty much mostly done. I think, Hans, you were going to move the icon or something?
Yeah, we're going to make it more consistent on the right-hand rail where we have the timers come up for fleet actions. There'll be a static fleet action with a red circle, which has the number in it, which will just say idle ships, which will bring it sort of consistent into the UI in a way that I think works for now. And then also move factions into a isolinear, a parallelogram.
A rhombus.
Oh, I fixed make the button actually in our style, not just my.
Yeah.
That makes sense. We'll rhomboidealize the faction. But
oh yeah, I fixed the build.
Yeah, I saw that.
Cool. The ship captains, I believe, are done with the exception of I have to hook up the faction text, which that shouldn't be too hard. Long range scanning hasn't even been started, but it won't be until the galaxy is created. And the cheat menu and how to submit bugs also have not been started. I'm not doing the cheat menu until long range scanning is done. Actually, that's not true. I might do the cheat menu. I might start it and just add galaxy creation as a cheat where you can see the map of the galaxy just as a debug tool. I think that would be a great tool to have anyway. So that's a good time to start that task.
Sorry. Go ahead.
What's up?
Oh, someone pinged us on stream chat.
Twitch?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Will's friendly. We're using both. All the UIs in blueprints, and maybe just like a little bit of the game logic is in blueprints right now, but we're moving it all to C++. And we have most of the game logic in C++ right now.
Yeah, and we actually use most of our data, like for the game, is all out of JSON. We're not using. We're storing it all in JSON files and reading those in using just the JSON reader. But they do not get moved in. They're not imported as data tables into Unreal.
Okay, and so today I am unpacking a crap load of stuff, and I don't know how much work I'm going to get done today. So we'll find out. It's my last day in the United States for a long time, so that's weird to say.
If you get 5 minutes today, I'd love to chat with you a little bit about captain portraits and the event dialog box. Yep. If not, we can do it next week. There's no time pressure on it. So
yeah, that's not a problem. Okay, that was my update. You're up, Carl.
Yep. Yesterday, I went back and forth with a person I found for narrative design, who was recommended to me by a friend. Have that set up to help work on sort of a narrative trailer as sort of a work test, that we can see how we work together and if we like working together. He's giving us a ridiculously favorable rate for it, which I was like, are you sure? But it's cool, I guess. I also worked a bunch on getting some social media stuff up. I put the Medium article on the page, or on the Facebook page and on LinkedIn, and just trying to do some of that stuff. And then I also got pinged by Eduardo, just sort of because he was seeing the Facebook post and stuff, I think, and he just wanted to check in and see if we needed any help with anything. So I set up a conversation for today with me, Hans, and him to just talk about the art style and the portrait style stuff and just see if he had any ideas or recommendations on how we go about doing any of that stuff, and just catch up and say hi and keep that relationship good. And then probably outside of that, continue a lot of the work that I was doing yesterday. I would love to chat probably right after this about the UI stuff that Tyson did with George and Ant, just to make sure that I'm aligned and on the same page of what we're going with there. Just because there's a couple different ways to go, and Tyson has explored a couple of them, and we should just pick a direction and give him clearer feedback of which way we want to go. So that's me. Woo!
Right on.
Awesome. Do you want to talk about that stuff now?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Just bring up share screen. Talk
Here,
about.
I'll share my screen so you guys can look. And then I had them open in Photoshop. These ones, right?
Yep. Make them big.
Making them big. Oh, too big.
Oh, too big.
There we go.
So in my mind, there's sort of two large passes on it. We can either do more on the right, which is here's how every ship could interact with this planet, and you have a big list of ships. That has a clarity of which ships you have, and you can have multiple. It makes it really clear that you can have multiple ships doing multiple actions, all that kind of stuff. The other side is what are the main actions you can take with any given celestial object, and who's assigned to do that thing. And that would be more of like I could see doing multiple progress bars, but that would be more of a thing where we're like, you can have one ship scanning it, one ship exploiting it at a time. Like, a planet can be scanned, exploited, and whatever else, but only one of those at a time. And we'd probably need to figure out how we do things where, oh, I have the aggressive exploit or whatever. How do we show that? And how do we display that kind of stuff, right? Like, where you have basically more limited use actions that kind of are better versions of the base action. How would you potentially want to show that in this thing? From the way I had always sort of envisioned this stuff, which admittedly is left over from the random design stuff that I had done during the game jam, which I'm not tethered to, it's just what was in my head. I thought that the left-hand side made more sense, where you would have like scan, scout, exploit, whatever, and you could have all of those actions happening at once, but one ship per, and then you would do a thing where it's like, okay, we tag abilities as upgraded scans or upgraded exploits, and so they would show up in that list or whatever. But if we only have a limited number of ships, and we want to have multiple exploits and multiple things going on, then I can see the right hand side making sense. I just worry that it makes every list really long. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what I don't understand is why wouldn't we just, I mean, unless you're trying to use this as a micro control panel, I don't understand why we wouldn't have the right-hand side with just that bottom one where only active things and the ship names of those active things that are going on get queued under ship orders. So
Because we do want it as a control panel too. It's an alternate route for assigning the orders to the ship.
wow.
You don't like that?
What I will say is that it limits us on it. It creates a visual constraint on how many things we can have as an actual ship order versus a planet, as well as it gives us a visual constraint on the number of ships that we are interacting with on a given planet. So in both directions, we have a visual restriction then within this dialog box, unless we do something where, you know, you have like a drop down, something that collapses that you can interact with, that gives you your list of ship names, or tabs across where it says ship orders for each of the ship names so you can see what's going on. Because otherwise you're constraining yourself both directions, the things that can be done to a planet and the things that can do things to a planet, and you're baking that into the UI. So I would just express caution.
Yeah. I mean, that's always been my worry about either way. I tend to more to the left than the right. But then there's the thing of there is the future, like there could be a lot more abilities there.
A lot more things you could do to a planet
that aren't just
each one of those.
Exactly. And so it's like, what if it's not like all you can do, there's scan and exploit, but what if there are abilities that do other things that aren't scan or exploit that you can do to a celestial object? There are one-offs or just lots of other things.
That's why
I do get the concern, like, we are limiting. This is going like, hey, this box could get really big or can only get so big, and how do we handle that now?
Like, I could see doing something along the lines of, like, you have ship orders, and on the bottom right, we have ship name 3 scanning Pyrocon 2 or whatever. This would be just scanning, and it would imply this piece, and then having like a fleet button on the right-hand side that gives you a right-hand panel of all your ships, and you could then choose abilities out of those to do to this planet or something like that. But I would not bake all of that functionality into one panel. I just feel like it.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for Tyson to show the because this was A, B was an actual like fleet panel in the system UI, so you could do the select ability from there, select planet.
Let's see if.
So I'm imagining, like, on the left side, I don't think either is exactly where we want to be, but I'm imagining the left side where instead of showing the things the orders, the ships that can do them, it would instead just have like smaller icons for each of the orders that would then be almost a tab where when you press it, it shows beneath it the different ships that could do it. and you can click that to make a ship do it. And then it could have listed below it any ships that are currently doing things to planets. That way we have a lot more room and we can kind of expand and contract it as we need to. Like, I don't imagine every option always being available because I think that's visual overload.
Mhm. So I don't know how close these are to done. These are the ship dialogues the new ship dialogues he has in there.
Yeah, let me try drawing something again real quick. So like if you had ship orders and then underneath of it had you know, scan. I can't draw, so whatever. We have exploit with an acute drill and then aggressive exploit. Right, so like ship 1 is a button, ship 2, and then under that there would be like a meter bar for like scanning. Okay, so tell me if
And he's
He doesn't even have to share his screen for it to just crash out. He just needs to
Yeah.
show something on
If he
this.
shares a notepad,
did it
No, you're
you're,
back.
Hello?
You're back. You're back.
that was funny.
That's dumb. This is dumb. Okay. Can you see it?
Yes.
I can see a frowny exploit.
Yeah, that's aggressive exploit. So like as an example, under ship orders, oops, I'm using the mouse to point on the screen where let me use my finger instead. This might crash it. So under ship orders, you would have like a couple of icons or tabs that can be done to the planet, and we can just stack these this way. And then they're each like tabs that open up a thing that shows which ships can do things to the planet. And if there are things that are going on beneath it, things that are currently going on, we put them down here. So for example, at the beginning, let's say you didn't have aggressive exploit, you only have scan. Scan would be the only thing available. So when you open scan up, it would have these things, or it starts open or whatever, right? If you put one of these things, then this all goes away and it's replaced by this thing. But let's say you had and aggressive exploit, right, as options, then you could click the scan tab and do scanning, but you can also do an aggressive exploit. I actually think in that case, that's a special case where we probably would prevent the player from doing that anyway, because it feels stupid to scan a planet that you're already aggressively exploiting. Like you're taking the risk of doing it to an unscanned planet. But if we had other things with planets, like, you know, drop off a beacon for future flights, you know, or something, you know, whatever. I don't know what else we have, but it would be able to just stack them vertically, like, you know, here's the progress and then that one, etc. Does that make sense?
I think the piece that I am struggling with is how much of the thing of like it's how does scanning and exploiting work long term? Obviously, I think we have a base version in now, but like if you scan it and it has all these resources and you hit exploit, you get some number of them, you get a random set of resources. Like how is a player interacting with that stuff long term? Because like that should inform some of this. Because like part of what I don't like is that we have the actions somewhat disconnected from the information it influences, right? So I kind of want in some ways the scan button somehow next to the information it would reveal, right? And the exploit button next to the things that it interacts with. But I don't know where we're at as far as what you guys wanted the scan and exploit sort of like actions to look like long term, like and how that interacts with this stuff.
I mean, right now it's all or nothing, right? But that might be different down the road. I think that well, you have to scan before you exploit, unless you have an aggressive exploit thing. But then also, there's other things on planets that I think we're going to wind up doing. Like I think we're going to generate content very quickly after we get to a baseline that will provide new things that you do to planets. Like terraforming is one thing that I can think of off the top of my head. Down the road, like when we get into the research trees and stuff, terraforming is going to be something that you can do.
Well, even just finding stuff on the planet, right? Like you might find that there's metal, and you might also find an event, right? Like, do
Right.
you use exploit to interact with the event, or is that a separate, like, go do the event and it's a separate button, right?
So I think this is kind of thing you were talking about, where like obviously ignore this little ship thing, but the idea of like possible ship orders, and there's a series like it can be aware of what orders can be issued against this planet. And so you'd have an enumeration of some kind of buttons that would occur under ship orders. You could click one of those and then it would show you a list of ships that could perform that. You'd choose that and then it would slot this in a, actions, current actions kind of thing. That's what you're saying, right?
That's what George is saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and
Want to make sure.
yeah, you would that way you don't have to look at everything that everyone could do all the time, always, because I feel like that's a pretty big overload.
Right.
And I think definitely initially there's only going to be like one or two options initially.
Right.
But down the road, I'm envisioning like 4 to 6.
Mm-hmm.
And this is blocked in. I assume that we have to be clear that resource channel could expand.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like there's probably more than just those things.
Could be resources, there could be anomalies, there could be a whole bunch of things that you could find that could be listed here. I don't think there's any reason we wouldn't.
I do like Paul's idea though, like of, for example, in the resources section, what if that whole section was just blank and it said unknown, and then next to it had 2 buttons, scan or aggressive exploit?
Well, there's definitely something where I'm like, if it would be not have them there, but it would say scan or something, and then you could interact like, oh, you need to scan this, and it goes down to what you're saying is like it selects the scan tab and shows you the ships available that you could put on it. So it's not all. Basically, it directs everyone to you to the flow of like how you would be selecting abilities, basically, and where you should be looking.
I'm pretty fine with pretty much any approach right now for all of this. I'm also fine with exploring the thing of just not doing any of this planet and having it in the corner. I feel pretty comfortable that any direction we pick is going to be
better than what we have now.
Well, better that, yeah, and I think it's going to be good enough for where we want to be. I don't think that it's going to be possible at this state in the design of the game to actually design something that's UX is great for this. I think we just make a UX that's good and move on until we're ready to revamp it.
Yeah.
And the pieces we're talking about all are going to take a reasonable amount of engineering, so which are not in this sprint. So.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Well, and like with either of these designs, we have I think we have the assets to make whatever we need to in the short term.
Yep.
I think a lot of what we're talking about is thinking through the long-term UX. And so I think we're fine from an asset perspective to accomplish whatever we need to. But I do think that it would be worthwhile to, and this may be something that I just grab Anthony or Brandon or something and just be like, okay, let's brainstorm a little bit of the like longer term future of this stuff, and just see if we can just collect enough of that sort of future term state to potentially do some more UX if in case it creates something cool. So but
cool.
I think we're good for now, probably.
Yeah, I feel pretty comfortable with him exploring any direction. If I were to pick one right now, based on what we've seen, it would definitely be the left side over the right side.
I think for the current state of our game, I'd probably agree.
Yeah.
Where is it, Hans? Where'd it go?
Oh, this one?
No. Is that the one?
Yeah, that's. I mean,
it's the other one.
No, it's yeah.
So,
Okay.
Oh, I see. Oh, actually, it has the unknown. It has it collapsed. I see.
Yeah. So these are.
Oh, that's neat.
These are the 4 stages, I think.
Yeah, just having the buttons of what you can do, and then having it pop out a list of ships that could do it feels like. I mean, the problem with that is that it's an extra click, but I guess if you're going through the planet anyway, like that's your preferred method, and you're probably happy to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I don't know that, like, we should be thoughtful about adding clicks, but not draconian. Um, so, like, especially early on here, like, if we end up with more clicks than necessary, it's fine, and we can collapse it or streamline it later. So,
Cool. Looks good. I'm excited for that.
But did
Did
we
he
make any
finish
decision?
anything? Oh, sorry. What?
Did we make an actual decision what we want to do though? I didn't.
I would
quite
say
hear
more
about
to the
this.
left side
yeah, I think we basically
Yeah.
implement more left side.
for now.
Did he provide any any of the other option with the thing in the in the corner of the planet
No,
screen?
he has not done anything on that. He has
I
not
would
done
love to see
option
that.
B.
I guess since we're not doing this sprint anyway, we just wait for him to do and then see what it looks like. I mean, there's nothing to stop us from implementing both.
True.
Yep, pretty
I
much.
think I may have missed some aspect of that.
They want
So,
a screen that is on the main view that is basically a list of your ships and what they're doing, right? So that you can
Not what the specific. It's yeah. I mean, I guess if a ship is doing something, you could see that it was doing something there. But we had it in the game jam. That was the little like ship.
The fleet status.
Yeah, the fleet status thing where it just had the name. It had. I think I only didn't say what it was doing. It said if it was jump ready or not, which doesn't matter right now. And then it was supposed to have a small list of icons next to it, which were actual ability buttons. So you could click the abilities from this little like ship fleet dialogue, being like, "Oh, this is my shortcut to getting to there," and it was visible during. Should be visible during while you're in the star system. So you can be like, "I want this ship to scan here." Click ability, scan here, instead of going into the ship, clicking, coming back out, clicking the planet, like.
Okay.
And I'm finding that I do that a lot with the idle ship thing because I just cycle through my idle ships because they pop up in the system view and I'm like, okay, I want that ship to do that. Okay, next ship, that ship to target that, and don't do the back and forth stuff that much.
Would you see this as like a collapsible panel on the HUD, or would this
Could
be a
be.
permanent addition?
I haven't. I would leave that to anyone who wants to do UX design on how that would work. Just the goal would be that you wouldn't have to.
Right.
That you could.
You have a quick panel for your whole fleet.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so we did it.
I think we did it.
Do we feel comfortable with the direction we're going to give Tyson?
Yeah, I think so.
And who's
we're
going to
not
give it to him?
implementing any yet.
Are you going to tell him, Carl, or Hans, or
Yeah,
who is?
I'll talk to Tyson next week about
Okay.
Yeah, because
how to prioritize.
he won't be back in until next week sometime.
Yep. And then we'll implement in the next sprint.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
No, implement right now all the things.
Do it.
Producering, 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 producering.
I'm clicking.
You're so good at that. It looked like you were conducting it before with your lightsaber.
I was. A symphony of destruction.
I like how on Han's screen it's just barely delayed.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to go and finish this anxiety-ridden task of planning the next 2.5 months of my life.
It's going to be fabulous. You know it.
It will be great. Just once you're there, then you don't have to worry about it.
Yep. As always, to everyone watching, thank you for watching the stream and tuning in for our morning check-in stand-up thing. And to all our patrons, thank you for backing us.
Thanks for chatting with us, Will's Friendly.
Yeah. I think it's actually, well, is it Wills or Willis? No, it's Wills. Many L's.
All the
No,
L's.
it's Will is. Will is.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Inner
Capital
cap.
Y that looks like an L.
Nice.
I prefer to think of it as many L's.
It's like that one player in League of Legends that was forced to change his name from LLL capital I LL capital I capital I capital I. He just did like 15 characters and they were all L's and capital I's. Smurfing.
Perfect.
Sounds like the internet.
Yep.
Awesome.
Okay, bye.
All right.
Bye
Okay,
bye.